JT, as it is written right here, Utah will win the Big 12 conference in football in 2024. React.
I love it. I'm so glad you finally jumped on the bandwagon, Drake. I should edit. I should edit this episode. I should edit to make it sound this way. I think it's a really strong probability. Now, I will say Utah's chance. It's actually funny. If we back all the way up before the season started, I was saying at the time that we should temper our expectations about Utah winning the Big 12 in 2024 because I assume Cam Rising was going to play this year.
That's the same thing that I said, and I got charged for it.
But you also were talking about a lot of hype about Texas Tech and everything too. And also you diss Kyle Whittingham. And that's one thing with Utah fans that when you come at their guy, they get fired. They get fired. But
I say crazy Uncle Kyle one time and everybody thinks they got to make a big stink about it.
You said inconsistencies, not that I remember actually, but either way,
I did. Yeah,
you did. I got a lot of comments
because sometimes he wins the big games and loses the small game. I don't know, JT. Here we are again.
2 conference championships. I don't know. That's not winning a big game. I don't know what is.
Here we are again. All right, okay, Utah winning the bet. Here's me trying to be nice, and we have to ruin it by me being mean.
Anyways, going back to Utah, I originally said that I did not think Utah was going to contend in 2024 because I thought that Cam Rising's last year would be this year, and you cannot break. It's just really hard to break in a new quarterback when you're transitioning conferences and then win the conference right away. It is going to definitely be tough for Utah to do it, even with Cam coming back. And their chances, while they were raised up with Cam coming back, took a hit with Cole Bishop, Sione Vaki. With actually some recent developments, I actually think there's a chance Jonah Ellis could be leaving too. That will really hurt. But there are several key pieces still back on this Utah team that has helped them go back-to-back as a conference champion, that helped them have one of the better defenses in college football before injuries. The injuries were bad throughout the season. The amount of guys they were down against a team like in Arizona, that Arizona score was really Utah was down their top their top 4 defensive players. I could argue all of them were either injured or out the game or sick and just not themselves in that game. You can clearly see that out there. And I know technically someone could be like, that's an excuse, but I'm sorry. But if you're down your top 4 defensive players, basically that's a pretty valid thing. And that's one of the reasons the Arizona score was really lopsided. But this is a Utah team that is always going to continue to run the ball well. And when you have an experienced quarterback like Cam Rising is never going to be a guy who pops up on ESPN every week because he throws this unreal pass. But what he does is he wins and he steps up in the biggest moments. And that's something that has to matter to me. And that is why I do think Utah has a really good chance to win the Big 12 in 2024. We already know this team plays good defense and they run the ball. With Cam Rising back, they have a quarterback that's capable of at least going toe-to-toe with some of the other elite signal callers in conference because he only did it twice against Caleb Williams, which has to matter.
JT, this Utah program on the whole, obviously great. And
thank you.
Here I go. You're welcome. And Kyle Whittingham, one of the most underrated coaches in college football. My question, it kind of goes into what you talked about breaking in a new quarterback. I know that Utah doesn't have to do that. Breaking in a new quarterback in a new conference, you're going to have to break in certain players at certain positions in a new conference. This is going to be new. It's going to be different. Is there something about that makes you think, you know what? There's going to be an adjustment period where it's just tough to win the entire thing in year one in a brand new league?
I think there definitely can be an adjustment period. You're just, a different maybe style of defensive lineman. All of that will matter. I think the one thing that also really will help Utah in this transition is just how good the Pac-12 was this past season, right? Like the best season they've had in a long time where you did play a lot of elite top 5 teams. There were a lot of teams that, even Utah's schedule on paper right now, I'm not trying to shade the Big 12 at all by saying this, but on paper right now, Utah's schedule last year should be harder than what they encountered this year because you don't play Oregon and Washington. I'm not trying to, you give me that sad look. I'm not trying to shade the Big 12. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying simply the fact that Utah ended up playing 2 teams that were very much in the thick of the national championship game and a guy who had already won a Heisman at that point too. But either way, there are some positions. Look, this is where it probably helps that Utah this past year, they broke in their freshman left tackle and he'll be playing right tackle in the bowl game. So what exactly that means, I don't even know. But yes, there are still positions where it could be a slight concern, but quarterback is just, it's the position in honestly all of sports so many ways. I think that's one of the biggest reasons I think that the quarterback spot is the exception to me rather than because the other sports have other guys out there, right? Utah's lost a couple receivers now, but it's like you're going to have A couple tight ends are already coming back. We hope one of those is Brant Keithy as well for sure, which would make a huge difference for Cam Rising. So I know that there's at least some familiarity in that position. Same thing with the running back. Same thing with some of the offensive linemen. There will be some familiarity there, and it will be tougher. There will be some growing pains breaking those new types of players in, but everyone in the conference is breaking a new type of player in. I just think it's a huge advantage to not have it be your quarterback, because we've saw so many games won and lost by that position this past season. Literally, UCLA went into Salt Lake City and they only allowed the Utah offense to score one touchdown. Why did Utah win 14-7? Because the very first play, Dante Moore threw a pick six.
Yeah. This schedule, 4 of the 9 Big 12 teams you get, really 4 of the 10, because Baylor's also in there, made a bowl game. 6 of them did not. This is a pretty favorable 2024. Part of that being you still get to play Colorado and Arizona State, who are question marks truly going into next season.
They are.
Are you excited about, does this schedule give you an inkling that Utah can run the table next year?
I definitely think they have a chance to go to. I don't think Utah's going to go undefeated by any means like that, but I definitely think this is a Utah team that has the potential to.
This is a pretty good schedule. I mean, this is easy.
There's a world where Utah could go undefeated. I don't ever want to predict the team to go undefeated because it's just so hard to do in conference play, and especially against all these new opponents. I think that could be tough too. But we've seen many a times before. Oklahoma State did it this year, right, where you suffer multiple losses in conference and you still make the conference championship game. I think that's possible for Utah. They can only lose 1 game. Once again, very unlikely they lose 0, because that's just really hard to do in college football in general, but it's a favorable schedule. And I am excited too because of the new opponents, the new rivalries that are going to start, like the new storylines. And like, we'll look back and go, oh, remember the first time that Utah played Texas Tech as part of the Big 12. We saw a little bit of that start with Baylor this past year, right? Where you have Bryson Barnes gets benched and then Nate Johnson comes in and has his best moment as a Ute. Shout out Nate Johnson, just committed to Vanderbilt. That transfer portal can be a wild place. But continuing with this current Utah team, I do think that they have a chance to be really good in the Big 12. Part of it is that schedule too. And you mentioned Colorado. That's one. I don't expect that offensive line to make a monster leap, but I just got done talking about how important the quarterback position is. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is leaving. And I think he's going to come back, and he could very well be one of the candidates for the Heisman Trophy next year. So they're definitely a team I'm looking to watch out for too. There's a number of teams that I think are going to be fun. I'm just excited to see Utah face these teams. One of them definitely being BYU again. How can you not love the rivalry?
And Utah is certainly going to lose to BYU. This is Locked On Big 12 and Locked On Utes crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by LinkedIn Talent Solutions. LinkedIn Talent Solutions is where I go every time I need to make a hire, which is pretty often, actually. I hire an intern every semester, usually from Baylor University, which is in my backyard. But this year, Baylor's not doing interns next semester. So what do I have to do? I got to go find them on LinkedIn Talent Solutions, which is actually pretty easy because you can go to purple hashtag hiring frame, add your listing, and it's not just another job board. This has over 1 billion professionals, and 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. They make this process easy and even help you write your descriptions. Launched that new feature that writes them for you effectively. So what are you even doing? You just go in, you put it in, and bam, candidates immediately. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Keep in mind that terms and conditions do apply.